Yeah, close it at 7.
No,
Too much for that.
yeah, good try.
Quick meeting.
How was your birthday? Yeah. There you go. So grown up, right? No pinata.
Chris, just sit over here, please. If you gotta talk, you gotta be heard. Hello.
That's some cardboard plastic.
Is that clock accurate?
I got 56.
Yeah, 56.
Yeah, I got cardboard plastic. It's
The clock is actually correct at the moment.
Pardon?
I said the clock is actually correct at the moment.
Well, that's why I asked.
Twice a day.
At the moment.
Twice a day, that's right.
Seems to be running pretty good lately, but other than it was off an hour. It wasn't adjusted for daylight savings.
Chris, can I meet you at Northwood Beach someday?
Yeah.
I went and showed you there's 3 bags of trash.
Okay.
So, and who do you use for concrete?
The closest here is Mitchie.
Okay,
So that's about the easiest.
good. Because I saw they were at Henniker too. That's what I was seeing.
Right. So they have a plant that we actually
Good.
they utilize.
That's closer. Have you seen the plans at all?
Horrible picture, shadows covering the BOS. That's good. Bessie says it's double vision on the TV. Where's that bird?
Is it possible that they have 2 cameras running?
I mean, because the shades are shut, maybe it's dark
I
in here.
haven't seen the plans.
It seems dark.
8 to 10 yards. It's gonna be a busy day.
Yeah. Do you know how much a yard concrete's going for now?
I don't. It's been so long since I poured anything.
Are you saying I don't shine bright enough?
Actually, he's got a point there,
Yeah, that could be it.
relatively speaking.
Is your pen?
No.
It's almost up.
Oh, freebie.
I tried to provide everybody their own tonight, so they, wouldn't be left out.
Shades are closed, Bessie. That shades in the bed, they're closed. They are closed.
Yeah. Been a while.
Right.
Gotta get the rust off the operators here.
Everybody ready?
Wait for the snowflakes to come down.
You all set, Paul?
Okay. Well, 6 o'clock, and as chair of the select board, I'm calling the meeting to order with a roll call. Beth?
Present?
Jim?
Present?
Matt?
Present.
Tim?
Present.
And Hal Kreider. I'd like to now have everybody rise for the pledge. Thank you. With the board's agreement, I'd like to first address the COVID restrictions that are currently in place for town facilities. As you know, the state of emergency is over, and I'm looking for a motion that would remove the restrictions that we put in place and basically indicate that we will follow the current best recommended practices that are recommended by the state. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second? Discussion. Matt?
So would you want us to adopt a motion that basically says we'll follow best practices at any given moment, meaning right now it would be no need for masks for anyone who is fully vaccinated, but masks for those who are not? And then as that changes, our guidelines will change?
How do folks feel about that? People comfortable with that adjustment?
How are you gonna know?
Right, how are you going to know that they're vaccinated?
We won't.
You won't.
Walter, oops, I'm sorry.
You're just going to have to take it for granted. If they're not wearing one, they don't.
Oh, that part, yeah, I'm comfortable with that. What I was wondering was somebody saying that you won't, referring to, we won't know what the guidelines are. What you were referring to was how will you know if somebody's, well, yeah, you're right, we won't. I mean, that's up to the people to be honest with us.
Right.
Is everybody with that understanding okay? Okay, any further discussion?
Does that work for you from an administrative standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all recommendations now, and, you know, as we've posted in the building for the last couple of weeks, you know, people that are not vaccinated are asked to wear a mask because of the recommendations. And obviously, I think it's time for people to, you know, assume their own responsibility for their own health. Obviously, the people that are vaccinated have a certain amount of efficacy protecting them, so we just ask people to be, you know, respectful of themselves and other people and do what's right based on what we were asked for.
Okay, any further input? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, so that passes, and I am taking off my mask. Thank you.
Does that cover transfer station as well, since we still had a restriction there?
Said all facilities.
All facilities.
So, yes. Okay, what I'd like to do now, and again with the board's agreement, I'd like to talk about board organization. Walter had a list of things that we need to consider. What I'd like to do now, because we do have other items that require, for example, Cheryl and others to be here, what I'd like to do now is focus on the chair and the vice chair. Then we'll put all the other ones, for which I think will take a little bit longer, down further in the meeting. Is everybody comfortable with me doing that? Sure. Okay, so first up is the position of chair. What I'm looking for is folks' nominations for who they'd like to be chair going forward. And again, I'll remind folks, you serve as the chair at the pleasure of the board, so this is not a full year or till the election thing. It's till somebody says, gee, I'd like to reconsider. So that's what we're up for.
You could have done that?
Yeah, you could have. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I would have. Yeah. So I'm looking for a motion to recommend somebody or to nominate somebody for chair.
I'd like to nominate Hal Kreider to retain the chair.
Okay. I'm willing to accept that nomination if there's a second. Any discussion then? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and no opposed, so thank you for the vote of confidence. As I said, I serve at your pleasure. If there's anything that you think I can do to improve, I would like to hear it. I will formally do so after approximately 3 months. That'll give Jim a chance to get his feet wet, so to speak, and it'll be similar for the other board members to what I did about 6 months in on the last time. So we'll have a, what I call a 360 review, where it's your chance anonymously to give me some feedback. So we'll do that coming up. And again, if some of the feedback is we need to change the chair, I'm going to bring it up for a vote. Okay, how about a motion for vice chair? Do we have any motions for vice chair?
Nominate Matt Fryer.
And do we have a second? Second? Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Great. And anybody opposed? No. Okay.
the second on
I think it was Tim.
I motion, you second.
You second.
No, I think Matt motioned, on me, Matt motioned.
On you,
and Tim-
okay.
Oh, I'm
Tim
sorry, yeah, I
seconded.
second it now.
Okay, so with the board's agreement, we're going to skip the other ones for now, and we're going to move right on to citizens forum. Ginger, would you like to speak? Okay.
I don't know if that's turned on yet, Ginger or not.
Oh, yeah.
I guess you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to offer my congratulations to Beth and Jim. Welcome to the happy little troop again. My hope is that going forward, we're going to see more transparency, more fiscal responsibility than what we've seen in the last couple of years. I would also like to urge all of you to take advantage of the seminars that Municipal Association puts on specifically for New Hampshire budgeting law, which usually comes out around October, and the right to know law. You will be amazed at the things you're doing that aren't really kosher. So I would urge you all, this is a subject that I've spoken to the board about in the past and nothing has changed. So I would urge you all to take advantage of those courses, ask the questions if you have any while you're there, and let's hope we get better transparency. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Ginger. Tim, would you like to say something?
I would, thank you. Tim Jandever, 33 Welsh Road, Northwood. I really primarily came for one reason tonight, but I do want to mention that there is, during this next year, and it's a very short year, it's a 9-month year for us before the next election. This town is sitting on a 1,222,000 pound time bomb. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you don't know what I'm talking about. You will in a few days, because I intend to let everybody that I can know. It's a big deal, and it's going to divide the town more, and I think that's a shame. And I would hope that from our recent election that you would understand that this is a pretty divided town. I know that the board did not get many of the things they wanted, and I'm personally very happy about that. As you know, I fought tooth and nail on some of the issues. The reason I came tonight, and I'm starving to death, is that it came to me yesterday that you're considering hiring a full-time rec person. If you do that, you will further inflame this town. And I don't have a problem with a full-time rec person if it's in the budget and it's approved. It's not. You have continually hired people that are not in the budget. You're paying people money that's not in the budget, and it's wrong. So you guys can do what you want. I totally understand that the Supreme Court said you can take the money that's appropriated and move it around anywhere you want. However, never has it been done so ridiculous as in the last year. I believe you cooked the books. I believe that the select board was dishonest with the budget committee, and I could go on, and I'm not going to. I just want to say that we're watching. I've held up a letter just to see what you do on this matter, because I'm going to let everybody in town know at least 2 or 3 more times this year of what's going on. I'm on the budget committee now. I just got sworn in downstairs. I'm going to pay more attention than I have in a few years, because I'm very concerned about the division of this town. It's really not right. And in my personal opinion, I'm staring at the group that's caused that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. And welcome to the Budget Committee, too. Okay, anybody else for citizens' input or citizens' forum?
Anybody send stuff in?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of items that came in
Okay.
email,
Do we want to have Matt read them?
if you like.
Would you like to read them in, or Tim? Doesn't matter who. Please read them in.
All right, I'll read them chronologically as received. So the first letter is from Lucy Edwards. It says, I hope that as the meetings of the boards which are going back to the town hall will make sure that those of us who might want to be there in person can hear what everyone at the table is saying. And I hope the meetings will be recorded so that those of the citizens who don't want to go in person can either watch and hear while it's going on, YouTube or live stream, or at least the following day. Just a reminder that before the days of Zoom, many of us were very frustrated with not being able to hear what the board members were saying in that hall, and it could be a legal issue, i.e. right to know law. We probably should have pushed it a bit before, but we sure have learned a lot in the year. Lucy Edwards.
Okay. Thank you, Lucy.
The next letter comes from Betsy Colburn, and it says, good morning all. With the governor's emergency order being lifted and the reopening of public meetings in person, I have the following questions that I would like to consider in your decision making this evening. 1. What safety measures will be in place going forward to protect the participants and attendees within an enclosed room/building? 2. Will the room/facilities be properly deep cleaned and sanitized between every meeting? 3. Will social distancing be followed for all meetings? 4. If more space is needed for social distancing, how will you handle the need for a larger room? 5. Will masks be required for those who elected not to be vaccinated for whatever reason? 6. What extra safety measures are being put in place to protect those who have followed the recommended safety measures and can't afford to be exposed? 7. The town of Northwood relies heavily on its volunteers to fill committee and board positions and are of all ages, etc. How will they be protected in carrying out their volunteer duties for the town going forward? 8. The State House and Legislature are setting up a means for those who can't attend in public to be able to participate as a committee member or public in all meetings. 9. What are your plans to offer the same interactive means of participation via Zoom or other media to all town of Northwood communities and or boards going forward? In summary, what are your plans to address the above noted concerns for everyone's protection going forward? I look forward to hearing from you on the above. Thank you in advance, Betsy Colburn.
Okay, thank you, Betsy. Anybody else? No, I guess that's it in terms of that. Ann is here for an appointment. Okay, at this point then I'm going to move on to ongoing business. I'm looking for some discussion on the May 25th minutes. Does anybody have any edits or changes they'd like to discuss? Matt.
So on page 6, line 26, if we have a split vote or an abstention, I'd just like to see that listed out as to who abstained in this case. And it was Mr. Kreider.
That was the vote on library trustee.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, other edits or changes that people would request? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to approve those minutes of the 25th with the amendment that Matt suggested?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstain. Correct, okay, good. Thank you, Jim. Moving on to June 7th, anybody have any edits or adjustments on that? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
It's you two and Pam, so we weren't here, so, and Jim wasn't elected yet, so.
We can vote to approve
vote.
without having been here.
Oh, how do we handle that? Yeah, I guess others can vote also if they wanted to.
Yes. Yep.
Are you comfortable
I'm
voting?
comfortable voting yes on these minutes.
Okay, can just Matt and I vote them and still, without a...
It'd be Beth and you, but you need the quorum.
Oh, right. But do we need a quorum?
That's a quorum. Three's a quorum.
Oh, you're comfortable voting?
I'm comfortable voting yes.
Okay, then let's do that. So all those in favor of those minutes as written?
Aye.
Thank you. And I...
Abstain.
Abstain, okay, thank you. Okay, we're now going to move on to the consent agenda. And I brought Jim up to speed a little bit on how this works, but I'd just like to repeat it. There's a list of items on the consent agenda. What I ask first is, does anybody want to take any particular item off the agenda so that it can be considered separately? Anybody have any items that they'd like to take off the agenda? If not, then what we're doing when we approve the consent agenda is essentially approving all the items on that list, and that includes the payrolls and exemptions and cemetery deeds, yield taxes, etc. If people have questions about it, certainly people are welcome to ask questions. So, like, for example, does anybody have any questions on any of the payroll or accounts payable at this point? We've seen them all previous to the meeting, but does anybody have any questions or concerns?
Are we reading it into the minutes for the public?
Yeah, actually, Walter, do you want to do that? Why don't you read off the whole list?
Sure, happy to do that.
And then I'll ask if we want to take it off. Thank you, Tim. That was
So the
good
consent
advice.
agenda tonight for June 15th, 2021 includes an accounts payable manifest dated June 9th, 2021, batch number 17640 for $384,133.49. And contained within that accounts payable manifest, significant payments of note include a payment for the monthly payment to cross-country appraisals in the amount of $4,500, a payment to East Coast Container for transportation of our materials from the transfer station for $2,500, a payment to Mainstay Technology for our monthly IT support and email accounts, etc., for $2,918.78, and a payment to the Northwood School District, SAU 44, in the amount of $342,611. Also on the consent agenda is the payroll manifest dated June 2nd, 2021, batch number 17615 for $76,210.56. There's also a supplemental payroll manifest dated June 2nd, batch number 17624 for $501.10. There's also a payroll manifest dated June 16, 2021, batch number 17652 for $84,841.96. And there's also a supplemental payroll manifest dated June 16th for, 2021, batch number 17657 for $166.23. There's also the 2021 MS 232, which is a report to the Department of Revenue for the total appropriations approved at Town Voting Day in the amount of $4,362,959. Also included is the property tax exemption for, per our assessor's recommendation, for solar wind exemption for Peter and Cheryl Seavey. Other items included is a cemetery deed and perpetual care for Paul Lennon, and there's also an intent to cut for Charles Morsono.
Excuse me, Walter, on that one, I believe it's Charlie Marino.
Oh, Marino.
I'm pretty sure, because that's the most prominent logger in town, and I don't know of anybody with the other name, so.
Well, let me double check that. We have him in here. apologize for that.
Chris, are you thinking the same? Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I can get you the exact spelling. I have his card at home, but
Well, it should be right. You should have the intent form here.
yeah, you can't read it in the on it. He didn't write it very clearly in the.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay. So we'll go along with
Yeah, Marino, yeah, I can see that.
I'm pretty sure it's Charlie Marino.
Charles Marino. Okay, Charles Marino. And then the yield tax for Camp Yavna, and a yield tax for Hercules and Constance. Want to help me with this one too? Just a
You're on your own that one.
Vakas. And that concludes our consent agenda for tonight.
Okay, is there any item on that consent agenda that people would like to take off and discuss and vote on separately? Are there any items where people have questions? If not, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as read. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Yeah, this is going to be troublesome, Beth, I can't see that hand.
I saw it right through.
Thank you.
Can't do notes in.
So the consent agenda passes also. Next up is the second review and approval of the town investment policy. Who's got that one? I always get mixed up whether it's Cheryl or Walter.
That one's me.
Okay, go ahead, Walter.
So as we discussed at the last board meeting, the town's investment policy deals with the cash held in the hands of the treasurer, not the trustees. And the purpose of the investment policy is simply to provide guidelines for how the funds should be invested and how they shouldn't be invested. And so the objective is safety, liquidity, and a rate of return that can be in the best interest of the town, but at a low risk. So the town's prior investment policy, we weren't able to find that it was actually ever adopted, so we're bringing this policy forward, and this will be something that will be reviewed every year about this time, and to see if there's any necessity for changes and so forth, or as may be triggered by a change in key personnel, which could be the board chair or vice chair, or the treasurer or the deputy treasurer, the finance director, the town administrator, or if we changed auditors.
Is there any requirement that you go through or highlight anything, Walter? I mean, we've already read it twice now.
No, it's been posted and, distributed, in the packets and so forth. So.
Okay. If, does anybody have any questions for Walter regarding the policy? If not, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the policy as was posted.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second by Jim. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye or raise
Aye.
your hand. Oh, thank you, Beth. I feel my efficiency
ready
going
now.
right up. Okay, and nobody was opposed, so thank you on that. Cheryl, I believe now we move on to you.
Yes,
Okay.
we're bringing back the purchasing policy and purchasing administrative rules. And the first time that I presented this, there were no changes recommended by the board. But basically, we have our definitions of words that you're going to see in the policy, and then we have varying levels of purchases and what steps department heads have to take, whether it be using a purchase order or prior approvals from the Board of Selectmen or town administrator, depending on what the dollar amounts are. And that has all, these have been sent out to department heads. I have not heard back any comments or concerns about any of it from department heads. So that purchasing policy and administrative rules stand just as they were last time. The accounts payable policy, which I'm kind of tacking on because they go together so well. There was a comment last time about clarifying section 5.7, which describes that checks to any vendor from any town funds will be run through any funds held by the treasurer, except escrow accounts held on behalf of another entity such as the planning board engineering reviews, bonds, that type of thing are not included. All checks to vendors from treasurer-held accounts will be processed through the general operating account through the accounts payable process. That way we have everything on record, paper trail of every payment's going everywhere. And then if funds are to be paid out of a different fund, such as the recreation revolving fund, for example, then a transfer will be made back from whatever fund it is back to reimburse the general fund. So that change has been clarified in this second draft.
Okay, and then just for maybe clarification on that, or emphasis on that, that's exactly the way we handled some of the cemetery things last year with the mowing. We paid it, and then we went back and requested whatever was appropriate. So it's really, we're following what the policy was previously, and now Cheryl's helping us reinforce that. Any questions on the accounts payable or any concerns? If not, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the, I guess, first, let's do them in two parts, I guess, Cheryl, right? They're two separate policies.
There are two separate policies, correct.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the purchasing policy as posted. Do I have that motion? And do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Discussion? Anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the amended purchasing policy
Aye.
as posted? Okay, that's 5-0. Okay, now, questions or motion on the accounts payable policy? Any questions? If not, how about a motion?
So move.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second? Anybody?
Second?
Second, thanks, Beth. And any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. So that passes 5-0 also.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So now that we've got these policies in place, Walter, can you give us some sense as to where we stand relative to the outstanding items on the past audits? Do we have any others? I know we've approved some other items. Do we have any others coming up that we need to sort of square us away from that perspective?
Yeah, as far as from the 2019 audit, we don't have the 2020 audit yet. I believe we have addressed all those concerns as far as policy were concerned.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look at the report to see if we actually have ticked off all of the other recommendations they had. But I believe some of those were taken care of in 2020.
Yes.
And I believe we're very close to addressing all the ones in 2021 for 2020. But we should have that report actually, I believe, by the end of this month. And I believe we've addressed all the concerns that they mentioned to us when they were on site.
Good. Do you mind if Cheryl speaks also? She had her finger up like she wanted to say something.
I did have a comment. I went back and looked at the 2019 audit, and we have addressed everything.
Cheryl, can you just speak in, because people
Oh,
said that
sorry.
I was here. Somebody just...
Sorry, is that better?
Keep the mic close.
Hello, is that better? Okay. The 2019 audit did ask for some specific policies. It also asked for generalized accounting policies and procedures, which we have already addressed with capital assets, cash receipts, and then tonight with the purchasing and the accounts payable policies. The only other policy that the auditors specifically asked for was anti-fraud, which I am currently drafting up a draft of. So we've kind of hit everything that they specifically asked for.
So it's anti-fraud. We don't have anything at this point on anti-fraud, or you need to update what we have on anti-fraud?
I have not found anything.
Oh, okay. Then we need it. Okay.
He's working on it.
Yeah. Well, she's made good
on it.
progress since she's been here. I mean, we've clicked off a bunch, that's for sure. Okay, well, we appreciate all your efforts on that, and Walter, we thank you for the investment policy also. I think we're really starting to get these things in place, and we just need to make sure we follow them. Okay, next up is the Rec Department Assessment Report. So, Scott, you're up.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Blewett. I've been serving as your Recreation Director for the last month or so, taking in all that Northwood has to offer, which is a lot of wonderful, beautiful things. The fields, the beaches. I think it's going to be a very exciting transition into Northwood. There's a lot that's going to be happening soon. I've been very successful in finding a beach attendant, just waiting for her background check to come back clear, and she'll be starting during the week and weekends as well. And we have a lot of activities planned for the beaches. The reason I'm here tonight is because I have a couple things that I want to get your feedback on, as well as your blessing, hopefully. The first one is to use the school house next door for some programs. The first one that comes to mind is some yoga classes, and then build upon that. Just want to get some activity going there, hopefully to get some attention to the building. I think it's a beautiful building. It just needs a little TLC. So I would like to proceed in the next couple of weeks by getting classes going, doing some cleaning, and make it as welcoming as it can be until the next phase can happen, as far as making it in better shape.
Scott, a question. You mentioned you have 2 or 3 things you'd like us to consider. Do you want to list them out first, or do you want to do them item by item?
Yeah, certainly. I'll list them out. The first one was the beach attendant update. Second one was the use of the schoolhouse for programs, and the third one will be Rec Desk recreation software.
Okay. Do you want to give us some more details on the rec software?
Yes. So currently, Northwood has been using a program called Squad Fusion for the last X number of years. I really don't know that answer. It's not so, and the contract is up. So it's a good time to transition to a better program, more user friendly, more friendly from an administrator's end, more friendly as far as the finance director and the treasurers and auditors, and to be more transparent with the financials, the programs offered. We'll be able to retract, get back as much data, a lot more than what currently is being provided with our current system. As far as utilizing bulk email, communication is key. I could run the greatest program in the world, but if I can't get the word out, nobody's going to know about it. This program comes with all the bells and whistles included in one price. So I think it will be more beneficial in many aspects than what the current program offers.
Okay. How about we just work our way down through? So the beach attendants, they work for you. Is there anything we need to do on that one? I mean, you hired somebody, right? We don't have to approve
Correct.
the hiring or anything.
Yep.
So that was just FYI. Okay, and then the use of the center school, I'm going to ask the board what your thoughts are on that. And before we get started, Walter, I guess I'm a little bit hesitating, because does it really come before the board for use of town facilities by town employees in the town? I mean, do we need to have a specific ruling on this or motion on this?
I think what Scott's looking for is basically the board's blessing to utilize that building. I know it's been a while since it's been used, and obviously it needs to have some improvements to it as well, but it isn't being utilized now, and I think it would be a great opportunity to get some programs going in there based on whatever can be done, size-wise, with the limitations of the facility and so forth. And I'm not so sure about the bathroom facilities and that type of thing. Those would have to be looked into, but I think Scott's looking at probably short-term programs, so maybe they could utilize the facilities here if necessary. But just wanted to get the board's consensus that it's appropriate to use that building for recreational activities.
Okay, so we'll let everybody speak, a sentence or two. So Beth, go ahead.
Just when I was on the rec commission, maybe 6 years ago, we did ask to use the the Central School, and the town administrator at the time, 5 administrators ago.
Be careful now.
Did say we could use it. I know that Amy and I, we got some tables from Co Brown. They were getting rid of some lunch tables. I think there's a lot of stuff stored in there right now. Yeah, I'm okay with, if it's junk, get rid of it, whatever. But I would like to have, like, can they be inspected? Like, to have the fire chief or the building inspector, just to make sure it is safe. But I mean, other than that, as long as it's safe, I'm happy to get some programs in there.
Okay, Jim, do you want to speak to anything on it?
No, I don't have an issue at all. Sounds like a great idea.
Matt?
Yeah, I love the idea of getting some programming going in the center school. I think it's a great resource that we're silly to not use given the opportunity. I'm with Beth a little bit. I'd feel better if we got somebody to take a peek and just say, like, yes, I know long term it needs this, this, and this, but it's a safe building to use right now. Yeah, exactly, because it has been vacant for a while. So that I'd like to see that, but yeah, in terms of some low-key programs, especially for adults and seniors, I'd really be excited about that.
And Tim, how about you?
I think with, largely the chiefs, make sure we get the fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, fire exits, stuff like that. So I think we're on the right path, so I'm sure that all can be arranged.
Okay, does that cover what you wanted on that one?
I appreciate it.
Okay, and then the rec software, you want to give us a little bit more input on that, or I guess I'll just be real blunt. How much does it cost?
Say, what's the number? What's the number?
And that's a great question to lead off on. Our current Squad Fusion is $600 a year.
Yeah.
The one that I'm proposing is $1,800 a year. But to spend $600 on a program that's really not being utilized because it's really not giving what we need out of it, it's money well spent. To spend more, you'll get more out of it.
Okay, well, I will say that we had discussed at some point adding a bulk email type thing, so that maybe helps defer the cost. But let's just again go down through and we'll see how board members think. So Beth, you want to start again?
I just had a question about the software. Is this going to allow people to sign up online and pay online for signing up for programs or sports or?
Yeah, it's all web-based. You can register online, or you can, if you go on and use your credit card, and you can do all that. You can also pay in here if you want to avoid the processing fees. So there's different options. I also, as the administrator, have the ability to register people from my end or adjust the fees based on if it's money's a factor and there's more need-based. Yeah, it does everything.
So the other program we have now is $600 versus the $18.
Right.
What am I going to get for the extra?
A lot better communication, a lot easier ability to see the programs from the administrator's end, a lot more ability to extract the information we need, financial reports.
So it's equally as user-friendly for someone who doesn't really know what they're doing?
More user-friendly.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Jim, do you want to ask questions or?
No, Beth just asked my question, so that's fine.
Matt, what about you?
Sure. So I'm familiar with the program, being that's my part of the world. It's an excellent piece of software. What we're currently working not really. I mean, it meets our bare minimum needs. It's not great. One of the hardest parts that we've got right now is that as we are collecting user fees through Squad Fusion, it's going through a third-party vendor for payment, and it gets batched and then sent back to the treasurer. There's really no way for the treasurer to complete an accurate reconciliation of money in, money out. This would solve that problem and make Sandy very, very happy, I'm sure. So I think in terms of usability, we'd be able to see a lot more statistics and metrics that Scott could pull in terms of who's signing up for what programs, and then we can sort of skip some of the additional layers of work around needs assessment and stuff by just looking at, okay, who's signing up for what program, what time slots, how old are they, and RecDesk is really good for pulling out that type of information. So where Scott's got a vision to grow his program beyond, we've been doing youth sports and special events for years, and that's about it. And Scott's ready to expand that to really start to include the entire community. I think Rec Desk would be an important part of that, as long as you've got a plan for where that money's going to come from out of the recreation budget. That's the tricky part, right? So I suppose that would be my next question. Are you comfortable with that expenditure given a fairly
Pretty tight budget.
tight budget? Yeah.
Yeah, and actually my recommendation is that be paid for from the revolving fund. Be paid for from the users, not from the budget. That's my,
Right, more programs will be more fees coming in, so.
yes.
So eventually we'd recover it.
Yep. So there
Great
would be a
answer.
tax impact. It would be user fee based.
Great.
Thank you.
Tim, what about you?
And Scott, you used this when you were, up in the Northwest there, you've used this program before, so you're familiar with it and all the ins and outs?
I've used it for the last 7 years.
Okay.
Yep. And
So
as
you
far-
feel comfortable?
I'm extremely comfortable, and the great thing about it, if there's any volunteers, if there's any interns, college or high school, it literally takes an hour to learn and to master, versus old programs like Rec Track, where you need a degree in programming to understand it. This is so user-friendly,
And this is like the best out there, this is going to go on for another couple more years. I mean, there's nothing else in the works, like a better system coming up, right? This is the one with everything right now is the...
This is the one. This is number 2 as far as the rankings for the best recreation software. Squad Fusion doesn't even make the list. Squad Fusion won't be around in a couple of years. Rec Desk absolutely will be.
Thank you.
I guess my question would be to Walter. This is within your spending limits. Is there any reason we need to vote? Sounds like consensus that this is a good thing, but do you need a vote to?
Now, as Scott mentioned, it's going to come out of the, rec revolving fund, which is what we had talked about, so it's not going to impact, the budget, in terms of taking away from something else that we might need to do, so,
And it's within your spending level, right?
Again, I think the purpose of Scott sharing tonight is really just trying to update the board on some of the things that he's working on so that the public can become aware that there is an active program underway with new things coming down the line, and his expertise and experience is starting to shine through.
That's good. Good. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we've covered all the items that you requested. Is there anything else you'd like in wrapping up?
No, thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we're going to move on then. We next have an appointment with Ann Schultz. This has to do with the Pleasant Lake watershed. So Ann, I guess we're going to have to ask you to stand, and I've got a request of you. We are tight tonight.
Yes.
So what I'd like to suggest is that you maybe spend 5 minutes giving us sort of an overview of what the program's about. I'm going to suggest you give us 5 minutes to tell us what you're expecting from the town, or looking for funds from the town and things like that, and then 5 minutes maybe for questions.
That'll be the easy part. Right? Okay, Ann Scholes. I live at 133 Gulf Road here in Northwood, and I sit on the Pleasant Lake Preservation Association as their environmental chair. So I've been to this committee or one of the commissions several times, but last August I was here because we were submitting a grant to DES for the 319 Watershed Assistance Grant, and we did receive $73,000. This was to address the corridor, the narrow corridor from the boat launch up to the corner where there's a Barna property or something. So just to back that up a little bit, this is our third grant actually we received since we did a watershed restoration plan back in 2017. And the first grant we worked with the town of Deerfield because we restored the area between 107 and the boat launch. And basically that required a little bit more engineering design because we lifted the road, we put drainage in and everything else. We're currently working on a project that's in the South Cove and in Deerfield. I think it was a conversation I had with Chris Brown, said, oh, I might be paving Gulf Road in 2023. So I was like, oh my gosh, can't pass that up. So our watershed restoration plan identified 15 hot spots, places where pollutants flow directly into the lake. And along that narrow corridor are hot spots 5 through 12. And I don't know, Walter, did you share anything I sent over? Or?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
we-
all have copies.
Oh, they have
and-
copies.
We got it electronically
Okay.
a little
They
bit
also
late,
got
but
it
we got it.
electronically.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
So that map shows the area that we're looking at in 5 hotspots, and mostly those are hotspots because there's shoreline erosion, there's no shoulder that's stabilized or anything like that. So the grant that I put together identified some ideas of possibly doing an edge drain, maybe putting in a retaining wall where that steep slope comes in.
Yeah.
Some type of a stabilization on the shore. There's nothing to widen the road, basically not increase the width of the road, even where it is, if anything. I mean, there's ideas from my head. I am a civil engineer, so I drive it every day, and it's going in and out, like, oh my gosh, what can we do in this area? So I think when that point comes, I would probably have like a steering committee put together, because those owners that are along that corridor, they're the ones that are going to have to maybe help us maintain it or whatever we end up doing in that area. So what I need from the town financially is nothing, okay?
Woo-hoo.
Nothing. So the match is in kind, so it's nothing financial. But how it worked with Deerfield when we did that other project was that if their equipment was out there, if their personnel was out there, if they laid 10 cubic yards of pavement, all that stuff was kept track of, and that was our match. That was our in-kind match on the project. So besides my time as an engineer and putting together, I'm not going to do detailed survey design plans. I think this is more of a schematic of what we intend to do. So the time that I spend putting together a site-specific plan for the project, whatever type of layout plans, time coming back and forth to meetings as needed, and then permitting as needed, and then the project starts. So as far as the timeline, this will not probably be approved by governor and council till October, I'm thinking. And then during the winter, there's this site-specific plan that has to be written and approved by DES. Probably into next May, start doing some schematic designs, layouts until everybody's kind of agreeing with the town. I don't know. I'm hoping the town forces can do this, unless there is a contractor that has to be brought in for some phases of it. Then in the fall of 2022 would be maybe the permitting process. And if Chris is right and he's planning to reconstruct that section in 2023, we would work with him on putting whatever is going to go into place, along with if he's reclaiming it and putting down new base or anything like that. Okay. So,
may I interrupt at this point? Because there was a section in there that included town contribution, and the numbers were order of magnitude, in my recollection, in the 30, 40, and maybe there was a $50,000 thing in there. Is that all part of the road
Yes.
paving and stuff like that that we were considering anyway? Okay.
that's what that was a guess.
Yeah,
I just kind of
okay.
said, well, so many feet of pavement,
Right, right.
you know, what would it cost to redo that section of the road? I think I threw in $60,000
Okay,
or something like
okay.
that.
Okay,
So
so,
it's written as a dollar sign, but would be written down as, again, time, equipment, materials.
or it could be contractor if we repave the road, correct?
Right.
Yeah, if it's in Chris's budget to have a contractor do that work, then whatever that expense is our match.
So I'm just going to ask a couple more questions just to flush this out. So how do we mesh your plan and your timing against what our road plan might be? Does your plan have flexibility in terms of how and when we do this? Because if we can match it up with the road plan, then, it makes it a little bit easier for us.
Well, I guess that's why I'm here tonight, is to say this grant would expire December of 2023.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that the summer of the construction season in '23 is when that road will be done.
Well, we'll have the road plan shortly, right? I mean, next
By
few
fall,
months?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so-
if you can put Golf Road in 2023, that would be perfect.
No, that's part of what we have to consider then, I think. And I guess before we go too far, I just want to say, it looks like you're putting in an incredible amount of hours, so thank you for that, because when I look at it, it looks like you're basically supporting most of the in-kind services from an engineering perspective, and it's
Yeah,
not a small amount of hours,
I
it's
told
300
the
hours.
board, call me a fool, I'm going to do it again. I don't know what came over me, oh, whatever.
But thank you, because that's a significant contribution. That
Yes.
really is. Yeah. So I sort of dominated the questions, and I apologize. Do other folks have questions?
No, my biggest question was when the grant funds needed to be expended by. So December 23, I would say that when the discussion of the road plan arises, then that becomes a mitigating factor in terms of whether we accept it as it's presented or whether we
Have to
do some
edit.
shuffling. So
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that was in the works, because Chris said he had done some borings down there. There's like basically no road base
No sub-base
on a lot
either
of
then.
that. And, I mean, I live at 133, which is right before, right past Oakwood. And,
Okay.
yeah, up at the top of the hill, and the rest of Gulf Road is really not that bad a shape.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually too wide, if you ask me. It'd be nice to narrow it up. It's kind of a racetrack when you get past
We'll
Glen
just
Grove.
take that width and move it down to the short part.
No,
Hey, restrain here.
traffic calming, you want it narrow.
Okay, so it sounds to me like we have a coordination question. What do you recommend in terms of when you come back? After we have our road plan and sort of know what our road plan looks like? Because we can call you and tell you, please come in.
Well, and I also want to know, like, as we go along, like when plans are produced, do I need to present them just to this group? Does a planning board, does a public works board need to see any of this stuff?
Zoning, planning, I know, is it?
Well, if it's work that's ongoing, again, I would ask Walter, why does the board need to be involved if you and Chris are going to coordinate? I mean, if it's work we're going to do anyway, or work we have to do anyway, and it's within your purview and stuff, is there anything we need to do? I mean, I understand, like, if we have to spend $50,000 on paving and we need a bid and all that type of stuff, yes. But if it's the normal routine stuff, like she was saying, where the equipment's down there and the work needs to get done eventually anyway, am I missing something on that?
No, I mean, you know, you coordinate with Chris and I, you know, probably this fall, and get an idea, you know, once the final approval comes from governor and council, see how things worked out, and we would look at the results of our road surface analysis and see where that section of road fell in the analysis and for repairs and so forth, and see how they match up, and then if we have to do some tweaking, we'll take a look at it. And, you know, I don't know where Chris has that road in the back of his mind, priority-wise, relative to everything else that's needs to be done.
So originally Gulf Road was intended, or not intended, but looked at for 2023 for grinding and basing. Is there any flexibility on moving the, like, per se, if we don't do it in 23, we can do it in 24?
You can always do like a no-cost extension on grants. I don't think DES likes to do it. And sometimes, like what happened on Gulf Road is that, well, yeah, that probably wouldn't be possible because we had a lot of the match already taken care of, so they just let us have the grant money. Mm-hmm. And I don't, you would just have to go back to governor and council and get a no-cost extension on it.
Okay, because the only thing we're looking at as far as retainment, like you said, on the banking and things like that, the biggest thing is the shoreline stabilization. That's one of the biggest ones. That's why the road's so narrow as it is. So there's definitely some engineering going involved there. So hopefully the 2023 budget will still carry us.
Well, has the town been talking about doing something?
It's on the highway DPW's site. As far as the town, it's a matter of appropriating funds. Luckily, we have the new warrant article. what's it called again?
Or the trust fund.
Yeah. So we have an annual trust fund that we're going to be putting money into for projects of this.
So if we use this, if we wanted to expend this grant money, could we, like stabilize the shoreline or that embankment or something?
The banking's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because that's where most of our issues are as far as heavy rains and washing out the roads and blocking the roads, so. Definitely
could
have
we
to chat
do some
more.
of those things before even the road was reclaimed and repaved?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Probably would.
Yeah.
The paving and
Paving would be like the
Yeah,
last.
paving won't come last, but
would be the last thing, so.
So if we did that work in 2023, and if you had to come back and pave in 24 instead?
yep.
It just doesn't necessarily get you to that, what was it, about 64,000 of
Yeah,
in-kind from
because
the
the
town.
grant, I figured the grant money would be used to stabilize the embankment, build some type of an edge drain, trench drain, the other type of work.
Right.
So it sounds like what she's saying is the grant money will help in terms of funds that we thought we'd have to expend. We get some help from them on that. So, that's got to be a consideration in my mind. If
She's doing some of the holdback work we pave, I mean, that's
Yeah,
a big.
so that could be a factor in terms of how we schedule it, because if we don't schedule it a little bit in advance, let's say, and then we lose that money, well, that's like wasting money. So it sounds to me like we're pretty,
It's like a sale.
it sounds to me like we're pretty close on this. I think maybe just you, Chris, and Walter could work through some more of the details, make sure we're not missing anything. And on the assumption that we aren't, then let's have you come back when we have the road plan in hand and have another discussion. When's that due?
I was thinking about starting to work on some designs probably like early next year, like January, February.
Okay, so we got,
Yep.
we got some time, okay.
Yeah.
So let's do, unless anybody has a better suggestion, let's do that, and then we'll look forward to seeing you back here maybe soon after we have our road plan and have a little bit better idea where it falls within the priority, because if it falls early on the priority list, well, then I don't think there's any issue. The only issue would be if it falls, like dead last or something like that. So if you're comfortable with that, that's what
Yeah,
I'm going to suggest we do.
I mean, that's the purpose of the grant, was to do the stormwater issues, dealing with that,
Yeah.
making sure stormwater's not directly running into the lake anymore,
Yeah,
stabilizing what's eroding. And the money I put towards as a match would be to pave the road, basically. Do any reclaiming work or stuff.
sounds like it's win-win. I mean,
Thank you.
so, yeah. And again, thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for all your effort
So
that
I
you're putting
will,
in.
I'm going to have DES proceed with the grant now. I didn't want us to sign anything until I knew the town was still going to be a partner with us on this.
Does anybody have any problems with that? Do we need a formal vote, Walter?
No, I think that the board's already expressed their support for the application and so forth, as it was
Right, well,
reflected
that's
in the
why I was
letter,
asking,
so
yeah.
there's no need for any vote or anything. We just keep moving forward.
Let's just make sure we stay coordinated on this to bring in the best benefit, because it's, you're putting a lot of effort in personally, and the grant money, let's take advantage of it as
Yes.
much as we can.
Okay, appreciate
Great.
it.
Thanks again for all your efforts.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay. I guess I'm going to ask the board what their pleasure is relative to the other organizational assignments. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait till we go through the TA reports? Or do you want me to put it someplace else? Any preferences?
Go to TA reports.
Okay, Walter, you're up then.
Okay, updating on staffing, Jared Shaheen is currently training with Charlie Smart. Jared was the one that you authorized for hire to succeed as our building inspector, code and compliance officer. He's still working under his conditional offer because we're still waiting for the results of his driving and criminal records check, which we expect back hopefully this week. State's a little
slow.
lagging behind some of their processing right now. Charlie will be with us probably one more week, and then he's agreed to be available by phone as Jared might need him. He's also been coordinating with the fire department, with Chief Tatro, and as well as with Linda Smith in the land use department. So he seems to be doing well, getting orientated, getting his kind of his baptism from Charlie, and only a way that Charlie could do. But he seems to be really doing a good job in terms of absorbing, what he needs to do and so forth, and has some good confidence in his abilities. So I think he's going to be fine. I think having that lifeline to Charlie is going to help him, especially when some people find out that Charlie's no longer here, and people are going to say, hey, let's try on the new guy, see what we can get away with there. But I think he's going to be confident enough to stand his ground and so forth. So I think he was a good choice, and feel pretty good going forward in that position at this point.
Well, time will tell, but I have to say, I saw Charlie on Monday, and he was smiling.
Yeah, Charlie's quite happy to be leaving for his sixth time.
He told me 7, but that's...
Promised that we wouldn't ask him to come back only for, special events and parties.
Yeah, okay, good. Thanks again, man.
So we have, as you know, a vacancy in the transfer station at the supervisor level. We've posted that, and unfortunately, we've really had no response so far for that position. And then we also have our 2 remaining transfer station staff that have been out for various reasons over the past 2 weeks, which means that all the work and responsibility has fallen on Chris and Jeff. A call from the highway department to basically run the facility, which is not only taking away from the summer work that needs to be done while the sun is shining, but also is impacting, as you probably saw in the manifest, a significant amount of overtime for both those individuals. But short of shutting down the facility, which certainly is not something that's an option, we're going to do our best to fill those positions. I believe we thought we were getting one individual back this week, but that has unfortunately derailed at this point. So we're still without any employees in that department right at the moment. So again, just one of those situations that's creating a delay in some of the other projects. Chris and Jeff have been going great guns on the days that the facility's closed, trying to get as much done as they can on the highway side. But and then as far as the posting for the attendance for the beaches and so forth, Scott addressed that. And
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think we need to address the transfer station hours, like maybe not be open on weekends and one day a week? I mean, how is he, Chris and Jeff can only balance for so long. They're going to get tired.
I'll let Chris speak to that.
I'm just,
we did talk about it briefly.
Yeah.
Money in the highway department to keep paying them that much too, so.
So I mean, basically, the way it's working as of now, everybody that I've talked to that run a facility that were interested in the position coming over, it's the weekend thing. The Monday, Wednesday, that's fine. It's the Saturday, Sunday. Once they heard that, they're absolutely no. So I talked to Walter briefly about possibly changing the hours to like Tuesday through Saturday, so then having having Saturday, Sunday off, Sunday, Monday off, things like that, just to get some of the workflow, maybe somebody that's retired wants to come over. Unfortunately, the transfer station is utilized so much on the days that it's open now. If I shut it down one day, we're in trouble. Because basically I have cans coming in that are getting full within 2 days. So if you shut it down, that's more impact on those days that I'm open if I do shut it down. So it's a tough bridge. We just have to cross it.
I think it's also something, as we look down the road for the future, again, trying to attract people, without the benefits, without a full-time opportunity, especially to work weekends is difficult, especially somebody that has the capability to be able to, manage the facility and take that burden off of the highway department. So something, to be looking at in the future, in terms of, personnel. And in the meantime, we continue to look for bodies that we can put in the position, to take the burden off of, Chris and Jeff at this point.
What rate did we post the job at?
I'd have to take a
Up
look.
to 18 something, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was, the standard grade that we have for that position. I'd have to quickly jump on and take a look.
Like
for it.
11 to 18.
This grade and step?
Not off the top of my head.
Chris, the grade and step?
I can't remember. 12 to 18, I think it was.
So that, I know where the supervisor role is vacant, but how about the two, will that be, they be coming back soon? Like, is there like a light at the end?
So Timmy went out on surgery.
Careful, Chris.
Can't talk medical.
Just, will they be coming back soon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so at least that part may
Yeah, so
get
there's a little
some.
light at the end. Just down a bit.
Well, I think we have to think about what we got to do there.
The wage range on that position is $12.75 to $19.78, grade 7.
That's not terrible, but
What's the step
compared...
on that? Grade 7?
Grade 7. And it's the whole gamut,
Oh,
depending
okay, all
on
right, thank you.
people's experience. Up to 1978.
Thank you.
Obviously, someone with, experience, with the right credentials, because you do have to be, has certifications to operate the facility, certainly would be at the top end or close to it.
Okay.
But again, unfortunately, we haven't had anybody turn us down for money at this point, because we just haven't had the interest.
How many hours is that position?
32, I believe it is.
What's that?
32 hours?
29.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. What's the board's sense as to what we want to do, if anything? Do we want to consider maybe going another 2 weeks, see what we get in terms of nibbles, and then decide whether we need to adjust rates or adjust something else? Or do we want to take any action tonight? Give any specific guidance? Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
I think we're gonna roll it out to like after 4th of July and see what,
Yeah. That's sort of the way I was leaning, tell you the truth. I mean...
How long can Chris do
I was
this?
going to say, it's
Well,
going to be long, 2 weeks.
That's the trade-off. That's the
Right.
trade-off. Is there
You
an,
don't want to lose Jeff, you just got Jeff.
is there an option for temporary work? Can we get,
We can find the bodies, we can,
well, I'm talking about a temp agency, which means we pay probably closer to 25.
Somebody has to be certified though, it's gotta be.
Well, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's probably going to be 25, maybe $30 an hour. So, I mean, that's part of what we got to trade off.
Yeah, I'm not aware of what we might be able to get out of a temp agency, but we can look into it, sure.
What's your thought, Chris?
That's actually one thought I'd never thought of, was the temp agency, because as of license, I'm the license holder, and they can work under my principal operator's license as well as the facility manager. So they're basically working under my guidance.
But you have to be there,
Yes.
Yeah.
so it's just letting Jeff do something different, not you.
Well, I mean, Jeff actually, well, Jeff's going to be taking his class regardless.
Right. No,
Because
no,
he's
I
principal,
know.
but it would be trading off with him like Saturdays and Sundays, splitting the difference, whatever. But
There's only so much Jeff can do out on his own on the highway
Exactly.
side
That's the
without
issue.
having
There
Chris
really
or
isn't a lot you
Stuart,
can do by
so,
yourself.
there's only certain.
Right.
Well, at the risk of burning Chris out, I think we'll give it 2 more weeks, think about temp, and be ready to take action next meeting, one way or the other.
You okay with 2 weeks? You hold out for 2 weeks?
I mean, is it worth posting a job for an additional laborer on the highway side around the same rate that might be more attractive than working at the transfer station? And then at least we're spreading that load
little
more
bit.
broadly.
Well, we used to have a part-time position, for a summer position
Right.
for the highway department. I believe it's still on the budget.
It's like, I use Stuart in the summertime pretty heavily, so he's my part-time guy, and I really don't want to hire another one under him. So
Is he
kinda-
willing to help out with the transfer station as well?
He is, he does come in. He does, yeah.
I think we're between a rock and a hard place on this.
It's just,
Unless
yeah.
I'll tell you what, for now, let's table it. We'll see what, temp agencies and other places might be, albeit at a higher cost, but, we got to think about that.
You have to cut back some of the hours for the transfer station. I know it's.
Keeps
but-
going like this,
but
it's
we
gonna cut
can't-
back on our road and the cuttings and
We
the
won't get everything done.
highway stuff, so.
Yeah,
We'll
we
be ready
can't,
for winter. We won't have our projects done.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll continue to pursue that.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, Chris.
Bring your gloves tomorrow, Cheryl.
Next item is just an update on the American Rescue Plan. Information is still coming out about the availability and the use of the funding and so forth. I do have a webinar tomorrow, which is going to be hosted by the state now, to go through what the process is going to be for us to request our allocation of funding. They did confirm that we'll be receiving approximately $451,000. It'll be coming out in two segments, approximately 50/50 in 2022 and the other 50 in 2023. And as I say, there'll be ample time to spend the money so we can go through some evaluation of different projects and opportunities where the money would be best spent under the guidelines. And the second allotment would have us the opportunity to spend that through 2026. So we can work on that as we go forward. There's no need to make any immediate decisions, but that process is ongoing, and we will be getting our share within the next 30 days, more than likely.
Great.
That's the latest on that. The first issue tax bills, as most people probably know and have received them by now, were mailed out on June 3rd with a due date of July 8th. Update on the building repairs and the painting projects that we're trying to get done. Building repairs by Home Repair Plus, Nate Smith, began last week with some of the repairs to the community center at the rear entrance, and also some trim work repair at Town Hall. They actually came back again today, replaced one of the exterior doors on the east side of the building. They'll be back tomorrow to replace the other one. So they're fitting some of this work in between other projects that they have, and finding some time to get those things done. We're still looking for painting contractors to do the painting at both the community center and the library. Unfortunately, we haven't had any response to our RFP, and I understand some people are beating the bushes trying to come up with some potential contractors at this point. Gibba?
Was the prison program available this year?
We're still waiting. We're having some trouble, and we're not sure, maybe our contact might not be there anymore, trying to get confirmation. I know Chris has tried, and Steve Bailey has tried.
Thank you.
So we're still working on that as a possible option, but nobody's getting return phone calls at this point in time. So it's possible the contact may not be there anymore. And then the roofing projects on both the former DPW garage here and the East End fire stations were completed last week. They didn't find any significant issues with the roofing, and Chris has inspected them and signed off on their bill, which came in right at their bid price. So those projects are completed. Regarding the Harvey Lake boat ramp, I met with a representative from the town's engineering firm on the site to discuss the boat ramp. It appears we can make some repairs with little or no permitting, providing that we don't do any work in the lake, which, i.e. dredging or anything like that. So it's possible that that we could go through and remove some of the large stones, regrade, and perhaps, he recommended perhaps paving, which would help obviously hold that slope versus re-graveling and have to address it, depending on how it's used and how often it's used and so forth, and what size boats and so forth are being launched in there. But he recommended that we look at the paving option, some portion of it, not necessarily the whole thing, and certainly not into the lake. But I'm going to meet with Chris and the town engineer again once we get the board's okay to go forward and to begin those repairs and so forth. And there's also a possible opportunity where we could use some of the funding, from ARPA, where it does include a provision for clean water, which obviously is something that would be addressed under this particular type of project. So what I'd like to do is to get the board's support to go forward and with the fact-finding, and also to get some project estimates to complete the repairs as soon as possible, because it's continuously impacting the lake quality, and obviously isn't as user-friendly as it could be. So.
How's the board feel? Beth? Go ahead.
So at Election Day, several people had come and wanted to talk about Harbor Lake, to be honest with you, and I guess the dam and the areas around the dam. I know I grabbed Chris. I tugged at his ear for a while. So I didn't know where we have had, I would say probably half dozen people had concerns about the dam, about cleaning up, about around the dam. I'm like, is it the cement? Is it, so if someone's out there, could they take a peek at that too? Just because so many people have had concerns. If we were looking at the boat ramp, maybe we could,
Well, that's on
They're not close.
and they have. That's also on the radar, but I think the first thing we need to do is to determine who owns the dam, which is in question all the way up to or down to or over to DES. They don't know who owns it either. So my recommendation is that we utilize a surveyor and perhaps town council, if necessary, to determine once and for all if it is the town's, responsibility and liability to maintain it and take care of it, or if we can determine whose responsibility is, kind of push that responsibility onto them so it does get addressed. But that was the plan that I was going to propose that we take in terms of getting that resolved as well.
Wouldn't the Dam Bureau have that info?
No, matter of fact, we got a letter of deficiency from them last January, and the first thing on the list was determine who owns the dam.
Oh, there you go.
Because they don't know.
Okay.
Their records don't tell us.
People that spoke to me assumed that we did, so.
Well, I think that is the assumption. It could very well be that the town does, but from my experience, I've run into cases where they've been privately owned just because of the history of them, and any smart town would, back away from taking ownership, just because of the cost and liability, unless there's a way to, secure funding for maintenance and so forth. So I think that's the important thing to determine first, if in fact we do have that responsibility, and then go from there about what's needed in terms of, they provided a whole list of kind of best management practices that need to be done in and around the dam and so forth. But like everything else, it will turn into a fairly large expense once you go for the right permitting and so forth that's required to make the repairs and so forth. So.
Okay. Well, at this point, you're asking for general board support, right? For
Yes.
looking at estimating the costs, figuring out what else we can do in more detail at the boat launch, and to continue your efforts to sort out the ownership issue.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any concerns with him doing that?
No, I highly recommend it. I went down and looked at it. It was horrifying. I mean, I used to go fishing there, and it was bad then, 15 years ago, and it was like, wow. Because I had a lot of people talk to me about it, too. And you know, if you can't even put your boat in, one guy told me they won't even put his boat in because it's so bad. So, you know, it's something I think would be extremely advantageous for us to get on.
It sounds like you have the support, Walter.
Good.
I think we pride ourselves on having, these beautiful bodies of water. We got to take care of them.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's not only, from an environmental standpoint of view, but just from a functional standpoint of view. And I did speak with a couple of the neighbors when I was out there, and they were quite excited that we were looking at doing something because, obviously they utilize it as well. So.
Just out of curiosity, have you seen the deed for the launch itself?
The rainbow.
I think I have, yes.
I'm just wondering, does that have any
Nice one.
restrictions on it in terms of, I guess my end question is, if we were to look at it and it was going to cost us a ton of money, is the option of divestment on the table, or is it deeded in perpetuity as a recreational resource, town-owned property, et cetera?
I'd have to take a look again, Matt, to tell you the truth. I don't remember that level of detail.
I certainly don't want that to be the way we go, but it's important to know what our options are.
Sure. Well, we'll definitely
That can be
present
included
those
in
when
your
we get the
investigation.
information.
Okay. Good.
And then along that same lines, for the sale of tax deeded properties, I'm hoping that we can move forward with putting together the data on that during the month of June, at least to get started with the abutter sale that we've been talking about and get those properties moved. And I hope to have a list of those ready to go for the board's review on the 29th, at the meeting on the 29th. Again, because of some of the properties in question in terms of both the title as well as survey work, especially out by Lucas Pond, the school lots there, there's definitely a need to break off the roads, from the conservation land, which will require a survey, and perhaps, determine some clarity in some of the titles in terms of like the beach property and so forth. And finally getting that property transferred over to the association that was directed a number of years ago. So that'll be another area where, I would like to get the board's consensus to go forward and utilize budget funds to do the survey work and get the legal work going and so forth as well. So.
Anybody have any concerns about doing that?
No, my only question is, I'm trying to remember if it was to you that I sent this list or it was before you were on board, but we had a list of properties that conservation had specifically requested to hang on to. Do you have that list? Winnie had sent it to me a while back, and I forwarded it to either you or John. I just can't remember.
Yes, I think you did forward it to
Okay.
me, well, both of us, but I do recall seeing it.
All right. I
do
just
have
want
the
to make sure
list.
you've got that.
And I think we had talked about also before making any offers that, for sale, that we would run that list by them one more time.
Great.
As well as the rec commission, to see if there's any property that could be utilized for, recreational purposes that the town might want to hang on to versus selling it, so.
Thank you.
No, I'm excited to see this doing something. We've been talking about this for years, so.
Yeah,
This would be a big
Get them
step.
back on the tax map.
We're going to get rid of them,
good. Good.
Revenue.
aren't we, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody's nodding yes, so.
She's going to help me formulate the tax impact, going back some number of years. I mean, obviously, some of these have been town-owned for 20
Forever.
years, so we're not going to go back that far, but, the last few years so that we can determine some minimum bid
Minimum
prices.
bids, yep.
Thank you so much.
I think that's a good approach. The next item is the Lamprey Regional Ash Landfill Cooperative. So I had attended an emergency meeting of the cooperative on Friday on behalf of the town, as they seem to be now their designee. So there appears to be a potential major failure in the leachate collection system, which delivers the leachate from the former ash landfill down to the Summersworth waste treatment facility. So they did an engineering study, and the engineering proposals to address both what the problem is and the solution. And they agreed to spend up to $200,000 for the engineering and the analysis and the repairs, depending on the outcome of the analysis. The good news is they've been saving for this for many, many years, since it closed, I believe, in the early 90s. And there is about $350,000 in the closure reserve fund, but that is something that obviously needs to be addressed because the leachate just isn't getting to the waste treatment plant, so it's getting caught up in the system for perhaps a number of various reasons, but could be valves, could be a failed pipe, could be just a blockage somewhere. So anyway, that is something obviously that the town has a liability for, but as I say, the good news is the funding, they don't anticipate it's going to take any significant call to the members, for any type of a capital repair. The only thing we may see is that if the entire $200,000 is utilized, then that would, deplete the reserve funds down, to $150,000, and so we may be asked to make maybe a larger contribution to the closure fund in the future. But that's something that will be determined once everything is all settled in terms of what needs to be done and once it's completed and so forth. So that's what's happening in that particular project. And then as far as our current request for proposals, so we have an RFP out now for the roadside mowing. I recommended that we do it on a 2-year contract basis because, as Chris indicated, and as most towns do, they usually do half a town per year. And so we have that on the street right now with 50% of the roadsides out for 2021 and the other 50% for 2022. Those bids are due on June 28th. We've had a couple of inquiries about the RFP already, so we feel pretty confident that we're going to be getting some bids. Also been working with Chris regarding moving forward with the road projects to be completed this year, both in paving and reconstruction. Utilizing the default budget, as well as Article 17, which was the $150,000 appropriation for paving. I estimate that we can probably absorb up to $375,000 worth of work this year. And obviously we committed via the warrant article to do Bigelow Road and a portion of the preparation work on Harmony Hill Road. But we also looked at perhaps adding a portion or all of, or I guess a portion of Bow Street. And also perhaps, what was the other short road you had mentioned?
Possibly Priest.
Priest Road.
Whereabouts on Bow Street?
Um,
From the Route 4 to...
Basically, it's a lower end of Bow Street, so it's the one that comes out on by Green Street. So it's basically from Paul Tudor's driveway all the way down to Route 4. So it's a smack dab right in the middle.
Okay.
That part's worse than the other part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's in bad shape.
Yeah, I just drove that the
Because
other
that road's
day.
getting used so much now.
So, question on that, Walter. I guess we'll do we'll look at the individual costs for the roads to decide ultimately which ones we can and can't do. We're not going to do them and bid them in group. Or I guess we're bidding them in group, but we can select individual projects. We aren't going to necessarily be locked into doing them all if we feel that the price isn't right or maybe the road study shows emphasis elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly. We'll ask the bidders to break down, each road separately, so that if if the bids come in at $500,000 to do those roads, obviously
Right.
we're not capable to do that, and we'll have to, decide which ones we're going to be doing. But I think this will, help trying to catch up, so to speak, of what wasn't done last year, and it'll also get us to the final point where we'll have the road surface management study done in the fall, and give us an opportunity to, this doesn't call for utilizing any of the new expendable trust funds at this point in time.
That's what I was going to ask, okay.
But we had talked about prepping for the 2022 work in the fall, once we have the road management surface study completed, so we'll know what direction we're going in, and use a portion of that funding for getting ready for next year, whether that be culverts, tree cutting, et cetera.
That's where we're still,
Yeah, we committed to get ahead
Yep.
on the prep work, and you need to help us do that.
Yep, that's the plan that we discussed.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Jim, just the plan, like, we're gonna pave, like, Harmony Hill Road, but before we do it, we wanna get all the culverts and dishing done, like, this year,
And
pave
tree
it
work.
next year, so that's what, we're just trying to get everything, trying to do all the tree cutting, ditch work, so when the paving comes up, the culverts, everything will be done, pave it, and move on, so that's what we're just trying to get ahead of, like, instead of trying to pave it, stop, put a culvert in, you know what I mean, so we're just,
Yeah, the plan right now, Chris's plan, which we're finalizing now, it's getting a little challenging because the backhoe keeps having problems, so it keeps pushing it's bad enough we have labor problems, we have equipment problems too, so that's kind of pushing the schedule off a little bit, so Chris hands it to me and he shakes when he hands it to me because, I don't have my people and I don't have the equipment right now, but, he's working on installing culverts now and has plans for doing the culverts on Harmony Hill. Actually, we
We
already
can get
have.
him a flashlight for his hat.
You want to borrow my 3,500?
You're opposed to me sleeping at the DPW garage?
So that's the direction we'd like to go in, in terms of getting those RFPs out on the street, because we're late, obviously, because of waiting for what was going to happen at town meeting. And see what we get for bids, and then,
See how that matches up with what our priorities are, and then make a final decision.
yes, yeah.
Okay. Beth has
Yeah.
been waiting.
So Lower Bow and Priest Road, are there any trees that need to come down?
Basically, those roads are actually pretty decent. There are a few ash trees that are already marked off by Eversource. There are some few dead ones that have to come down, pretty minimal. Some of them town workers can do.
Okay, so just want to make sure we're going to do those before.
Priest Road Priest isn't necessarily on the thing. It's basically 3 roads that we had in mind already. Priest was just additional if we had the money.
Okay.
In the event that we had to perhaps drop one of the bigger roads, that might be a supplemental.
Okay, thank you.
But the goal is to utilize those funds to about that total of about $375,000.
Sounds good.
Other questions?
that drainage issue on the hill there, on Lower Bow Street that we talked about, you guys went down, any more you gotta do to fix that, or is that, why,
Basically, when we go through and grind it, it's basically going to be a complete regrade and ditch of all the way down the side. The major issue was taken care of earlier this year. It just needs to be firmed up a little bit better. It was kind of a, in the middle of the moment thing, so. But that could definitely be addressed, and maybe some under drain going around the corner, something like that.
So when we do the RFPs for paving, we're going to do grading as well?
That's all part of the grinding and grading is
I mean, like
included.
the dirt roads.
Well, that's already done.
Okay.
That's taken care of it separate, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's already started.
Thank you.
All the roads, have they all been done once yet?
No, they're going back because Stratford was working on a second crown, so they're going to be coming back in next week to do up the rest.
Okay.
we just gotta get those RFPs for hot top in, it's, hate to say it,
It's
you got
late.
4.5 months,
It's late.
Yeah.
that's pushing
Right,
it.
but other towns also push their voting.
Barrington is already,
Yeah, but there's
has
others
already
that,
started, so the company,
well, move them along, Walter.
Yeah, so it'll probably be a fall paving schedule, so. And then just looking at future meetings, June 29 was discussed, will be our next meeting.
Yep.
And then back to our second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, which would be July 13 and July 27th, I believe. Is that good for the board?
I
Yeah.
will let you know right now, I'm actually going to be away on the 29th. I'll be in Montana. But
Bozeman?
I'll be back for the next one.
I will be
Missoula.
away for a week in July. I'm not sure when my daughter and her kids are moving to South Korea. So I'm going that last week. But she can join her husband, so. I'm not sure when they're actually,
Okay, well, we'll just have to make sure we can get a quorum. I think if it's just one at a time, it shouldn't be an issue. And I will say, though, I appreciate having a full board, because I think, with all the input, we get better decisions.
I won't see her for 2 years. She kind of,
Okay. Anything else, Walter?
That's all I have.
Okay, I see Kim is here, and so why, if the board doesn't mind, why don't we bring up the Harvey Lake Association request for funding at this point? Does anybody object to that? Okay, I'm going to preface this with some information. They came in, and some of this is in your notes already on the meeting pack. They came in and asked for $500. We said that we would like to wait until with the town results, so that we know that the town has supported, it in full. The town did support it in full. Their letter said that last year they had funding that totaled actually $1,750 from New Hampshire Lakes. That got cut to $1,000. So they're actually $750 short relative to what they had last year. That's one point I wanted to make. And then in terms of the fund that we would draw out of for this, in 2017 the balance was zero. We added $10,000. We withdrew $6,000. That left $4,000 and change. We then withdrew $7,000. We added $7,000, withdrew $8,000 in 2018. That left us with $3,000 and change. And then for the following 2 years, we added $7,000 and withdrew $7,000. So there's still approximately $3,000 in there. And I know that they requested $500. I am going to ask the board to at least think about whether we should consider the $750 so we get them back up to where they were. That would still leave the town funding less than half their total budget. And we had a discussion about how important Harvey Lake is, so I'd at least like you to think about that, and then if you would make a motion in terms of how much you want to have the board consider for approval. So anyone want to discuss this first, or anyone want to make a suggestion?
So just out of the remaining funds of what got put in on the warrant, what are we expecting to pay out?
Same thing
historically?
Again. The same. Yeah, we've asked the people that have already been in there to basically hold their numbers steady for the last 3 years, which they have. Yep. They have not requested increases. So it's again the same this year.
So we'd be dipping into that $3,000 reserve for
right.
$500 or $750.
Yes. And just to refresh people's memory, when we originally discussed this, we were doing coincidentally, we were doing some work on the Bow Lake boat ramp, and Tom Chase was one of the people that said, well, let's put a little bit more money into this fund, more than what was requested, so that if Bow Lake, and I'm pretty sure he said other lakes, are interested in a program, it will have funds in there to encourage them to do so. So personally, I believe this falls into that category, but really, we have to decide as a board what we want to do. And then just to be really clear about this, the expectation would be that they can make their own request for next year, and then that will influence what we request in terms of the warrant article. So that's sort of the lay of the land. What's the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to support the Lake Host program on Harvey Lake with a $750 line.
Okay. Do we have a second on that? Second. Okay. Discussion.
I think, we need to start taking care of the lakes. I mean, like we said, it's been, hopefully we can get some money figured out, the dam, the boat ramp. I mean, I know, like Matt said in the past, that's our main lake for the fishing derbies, the kids and the schools, and so, I think we're good.
Other discussion? If not, then all those in favor?
All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you're welcome. We'll talk some more about some other
Sorry
ideas.
it took an hour and a half to get there, but it's happy, right?
I learned a lot staying here, and you know, my neighbor just texted me, there were double rainbows over Harvey Lake.
I just, yeah, we saw it.
Oh, really? Double rainbows while we were voting?
Actually, before, like, after all.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, at this point, I am going to ask for a break.
Yes. These in-person meetings are going to be tough to get used to.
I'm going over ice cream, see ya.
And then we'll get back to the other items.
All the commercials.
Before we get out.
Yeah, one commercial call. Play the guitar or something. Hit the Jeopardy music, we're right back.
So Mrs. Schultz, this all came from a pothole complaint.
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you think about it? And I was like, wait a second, you're going to do the legwork on a grant to assist the town?
Yeah.
I was like, I give you 100% support. And I was like, in the town, I don't think they're going to deny it.
Hey,
But I told her, I
Scott,
said, you're going to have to move forward with it.
I don't know if you heard, but
I don't think they've gotten it though.
when you gave your
They've gotten
answer, how
the,
we're going to pay for
preliminary
the software,
It still has to go.
well, that's the right answer.
So I mean, it could be, still could be denied regardless.
Yeah, there's always that possibility. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But that's good answer. Switch. Everybody's happy with it. Good job.
Yeah, right here.
It's not power, because my computer's not charging. Did you pay the electric bill?
No.
All right, so how do you spell the last name?
Gonzalez.
Me too.
There you go. It works. Yeah, it's not charging. Oh, now it is. Plugged in, yeah, what was it? Oh, maybe the outlet at the bottom wasn't working.
Maybe, yeah.
There you go.
Switchable on the bottom.
Well, I don't know.
It's working. It's plugged in, going. Yeah, we're charging now. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, how'd they go?
Double 30-inch, good.
Oh, okay, so now, no, just put it in the top.
Might be an outlet. Yeah. Turn that on.
Yeah, sometimes they have.
Oh, yeah.
On my house, all my window lights, the top outlet runs up, for Christmas lights, you turn them all on,
Oh, right.
No, the only thing we do is we're going to go back.
Yeah, I wired mine the same way. I can
We're going to
just
look
put
at
the
the paint
light
on the sides and we're going to pull the original
Lights are not been on, so it works out good.
Pieces that were in there.
Yep.
We're going to pull those out. Well, of course, it's in the water, but it's actually missing the whole bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Mark, we got one more fire drill left. Is it going to be tomorrow? We have one more. Is it tomorrow?
Oh, well.
Holiday today. I'm like, yeah, today's a good day for a fire drill. So I say, oh,
I'm still feeling.
I called him, I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm like, I'm digging. He's like, what do you mean you're digging? I'm digging old Canterbury Road up. And he goes, you're doing the culverts? I go, yeah. And he goes,
There's not a meeting, I'm still sending.
well, I'm heading to the doctor's office. And he's like, I'll be out for as soon as I get done. And all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, he comes pulling in, he goes, I
tried
can't
hiring
the doctor's appointment. I go, still
Things like,
are you available to rent? For what? I don't know.
double 30
Some
inch
yard
screen
project, am I now?
You love it.
No, you said you'd be afraid to do my yard. He's like, no, your yard's for nothing.
You have 18 inches of separation on one side to teeter down to catch the water.
So you opened up toward Route 4 and you got them on.
Yep. Because the way the water flows through there, when it comes around that thing, it kind of goes around
My
the
daughter
corner.
can't
So we opened up the two there.
sixth grade.
We're getting a decent header built right now.
This girl's got
We've got
a
some
good
cleanup to do.
gymnasium classes. And she worked sixth grade, seventh grade, all through high school.
yeah.
And actually, the first year taught her and then when she transferred to Swing Rock, and had to go right in Manhattan.
Oh, that's right, it had
materials. Transfer to, feel like working down with that.
Everything down low and took a level. It's reading them, I go, Stuart, 2 inches higher. He goes, are you kidding me? I was like, nope. I was like,
We just can't have a major,
I gotta buy a laser.
major unexpected deal.
I got a short stack. One of the hand lasers. Oh, yeah. Of my own, but it's $2,500.
We're gonna spend the money now, remember?
You're making lots of money
Spend the
now
money,
at the transfer
remember?
station.
What?
You're making lots of money now at the transfer station.
Showed you that video, right?
Right. Exactly.
That's right, we just changed the culvert, wait for it.
When was that? Oh, 19. I was gonna say, I trapped him.
Stop.
He got a stick in his mouth.
Find out tomorrow.
That beaver in particular was 47 pounds.
Okay,
Yep.
let's just see if I
trapped
can
him
find
with
this.
the pulse on my wall.
Got half a tree dragging it. He's dragging half a tree.
Yeah. I tried to get Cheryl to try beaver jerky. She wouldn't touch it.
Beer jerky?
Beaver.
Beaver.
Just the sound of it sounds.
There's a
Oh, I'm
beaver. You have
sorry.
to, right near our house, in between us, I think. Kevin's our beaver.
So, Walter, help me out. What number page was the list of organizational things we have to do? That Paul had it out of order.
Yeah. It should be right after the,
Policies, maybe?
let's see.
What are you looking for?
May have put my.
There's a list of
What committees you want to be on?
Oh,
committees.
that's on page 30 on the PDF.
Oh, thank you. I found it once and I couldn't find it again.
Oh. Yeah, page 30.
Beautiful. There we go. Okay. So that's what's up next, is the discussion on the remaining items. That doesn't mean there aren't other committees that we want to discuss at some point, but if you recollect, well, you won't recollect because you weren't part of the discussion, but Walter said that we're going to think about, it was Matt's suggestion actually, an organization day where we talk about committees and we talk about how the committees function and different things, their charges and stuff. So what we want to do tonight is cover the main ones that, have like ex officio where we need to assign somebody and an alternate, plus some of the other commissions and boards, just so we have those covered. And then that gives Walter a little bit more time to work on the organization day and some of the charges for the different things and make sure we have those in place.
So why do we have the three, like, we don't have someone for the police commission, zoning, and
Right.
conservation?
We have that in the paper copy? Because my computer's messed up at home.
That's not one that we have to do.
So Walter, go ahead.
Yeah, so I recommend that the standing committees, the committees that are not appointed by the board, for instance, have a liaison. And a liaison is not a sitting member, but has a conduit between the select board and the Conservation Commission, the Police Commission, the Zoning Board, and so forth, so that you assume a responsibility to kind of deliver information back and forth from the board. I think it really helps with, communicating and being able to answer questions from their side as well as from the board side. And so that was one of the reasons I think it's important to have, again, a liaison, not a board member, but just a contact person, so that, if there's a question, from the police commission, or if there's a question from the board to the police commission, there's one person that's, designated as a liaison to that particular committee. Same way with the Conservation Commission.
So not to go to the meeting, but to be the contact in between?
Yeah.
So would we have that also for the library trustees?
Yeah. Yep, very well could have one for the library trustees.
Let's add that to the list, and let's also consider adding to the list the school
School
board.
board is what I was thinking too.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because that, I think that's an important one. We've, thanks to Matt primarily, have really developed that relationship, and I'd hate to see that get lost. So,
It's an easy joke there that I won't make.
so we're going to add the library liaison and the school board. Okay.
So are we taking off then the ones that we had before? We had other
No, the other ones we're going to come back to. So like, the safety facilities, the facilities in general, there were several others, and those we said,
Transfer station.
we're going to make sure we have the things well defined before we do those also, and that will be part of organization day, organization day.
You just said one of these committees Linda takes care of. I want to find out which one.
Which one's that?
Hold on.
Oh.
No, keep going.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's work our way down through. So start, I guess there's a couple ways we could do this. Maybe we just go around the table and say who's interested in what to start and see how many slots get filled in, and then we can work on filling in the rest. So, Jim, you're the new guy. We're going to let you go first.
All right, I'll go on the budget committee, seeing I was also elected to that.
Okay, so do you want the budget committee ex officio position or the alternate?
Yeah, I'll do the ex officio.
Okay, terrific. We'll keep going around. Beth, what's your first
I'm still
option?
doing notes. I'll do police commission.
Beth is police. Okay.
Going too fast.
Yeah, I know that. I'm starting to write too, so I'll slow down. Okay.
Need a chart to fill in.
And then I'm going to skip myself. Matt, what do you?
I'd love to stay on rec as we
Rec?
get the playground built.
Matt. Okay. And Tim?
I'll do like the transfer station and the highway stuff.
That's not on it.
Well, I don't have that copy.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
those are that's the fun night we're going to have planning.
Oh,
Are there any on here that you'd be interested in? For example, budget committee alternate or planning board alternate or anything like that? Any of those? Or
oh yeah, I'm right.
if you do zoning board, you get to see Pam again.
But you don't have to go to the meeting. It's just if they have.
Yeah, if you're a liaison, you're not that necessarily doing the meetings, Tim. So, maybe one of the liaison positions. Is that French, and am I saying it right?
You are saying it right.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think of my schedule at night and stuff.
I know that Hal likes planning board.
Well,
From doing it with you before, and you had to have all
I like
my
those
blueprints.
the big blueprints and stuff. Well, I'd be willing to give that up, but so while he's studying it, I was going to report this later on, but I'll just say it now. We're just wrapping up Aroma Joe's, which was a 2-year stint, and I feel it would be unreasonable to the applicant for me to drop off at that point. But what we could consider is, for example, that I could take the planning board role.
I already wrote down half the planning.
And then if somebody takes the alternate, and then ultimately in 3 or 4 months when we wrap things up and get through sort of the hump, the alternate says, oh geez, okay, you're having all the fun, I'd be willing to switch roles then.
Still the liaison to the zoning board.
Okay, that sounds good.
Pam and Justin.
Yeah. The zoning board, right? Okay, and then so I'll take planning. And what ones does that leave us with?
Conservation.
School board, library.
Okay, so Matt, would you be willing to redo school board again?
Yep, absolutely.
You need an alternate to the budget committee, too.
Check with your wife first.
Okay, so we need an alternate to the budget committee. Anybody willing to do that?
I'm happy to.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
What
And-
one? Both of them.
And what else do we need, Walter?
Alternate to the planning board.
And also Conservation Commission. I'll tell you what, I'll take liaison to the Conservation Commission, if nobody else wants it. So, is anybody willing to do planning board alternate just in case?
Looks like you can't miss.
Okay. Well, but let's leave it for now, and please think about it, everybody. But I'm very happy doing it. I enjoy it, and like I said, I want to just continue for now. But if nobody else has a strong desire, I'm willing to continue on. So that's fine with me. And if something turns up that I can't do it, then we'll have to think about it at that point in time.
I could do the library,
Oh, great! You know,
unless you want me to be here for you.
no, I actually think it'd be better. I think it'd be better. I already get a funny look when she's having the meeting on Zoom and I'm there. It's like, butt out, So, yeah, it'd be better if you would, please.
That's a liaison, right?
Yeah.
Just the school boards,
Matt said
I'm going to take.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay. And I think that's everyone, isn't it, Walter?
Yes.
So Walter, will you be sending an email to different people saying that way?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, we'll send it out to the different
departments.
chairs,
Thank
just to let people know who's
Okay.
doing what,
That's
so forth.
great. Okay, so we took care of that. Okay, so now, Walter, you have on here review for action, review of town voting results. We already agreed to sign off on the MS 232. Was there other items you wanted to go over?
So I just wanted to mention that, obviously, with the defeat of the budget, Cheryl's immediately started working on kind of our own rescue plan. Kind of looking at what our, committed liabilities are for the rest of the year versus what we have available to work with. And so I'm just going to share with you for future review what she's put together and, what it looks like going forward.
That's different than what was in front of us when we came in.
Yes, yeah. What you received today was just the year-to-date expenditures report through May, which is posted on the website now, as we agreed to do.
Right.
So again, obviously this will be fluid if there's changes in, different, personnel primarily is the thing that concerned us the most. And benefits, because that's our biggest liability, from a budget standpoint of view. So, so as we go through the course of the next, 6 months, basically, we'll be looking at the status of our remaining liabilities and so forth. And at some point in time, there's going to be departments that are going to be deficient, and there's going to be some that will have excess unexpended funds that we'll be doing, not physical budget transfers, but authorizations from the board when the time comes. So that's our requirement. But we won't be physically moving dollars from one budget to the other.
Got it.
We just have to acknowledge where our deficiencies are being funded from. So it's going to take some diligence, obviously, on Cheryl's part as well as mine, and all the department heads, in terms of trying to manage through, especially where we're already 6 months into the budget, and the fact that we've, have automatic increases that have fallen upon us in terms of the New Hampshire retirement system, which is significant, especially for police and fire, and also for health insurance benefits and so forth, that are things that were out of our control, in terms of increases that we need to absorb. So, plus the staffing changes that took place over 2020 as well. So,
Right.
Mr. Chairman, Walter, are we all set with Chris? Give him a night off, get some rest? Up to you.
anytime he wants.
Is there anything in non-public that we need him for?
No.
Okay. Chris, thank you.
Get some rest, bud.
Really
Thank you.
during the quiet time.
But he's so quiet, I forgot he was still here. Thought he walked
I'll
out.
look out for you, buddy.
Thank you, Chris. Have a good night.
Hey, thank you.
And then if you don't if you don't have any, I don't know if you have anything else to add to what you've been working on, Cheryl, as far as that report's concerned.
No, I don't. I just, as you can see, as you look through it, I've tried to put in everything that I was aware of that is a known liability. And if I left a line blank, it was either that there's nothing definite or I wasn't sure how to allocate it at this point. So it did go out to the department heads, and so if they have individual, things in their department that I'm not aware of that's coming up, then they can let me know and I can fill them in. As we go
Adjust,
along.
yeah.
And every time we do a payroll run or an AP run, I'll be going through and readjusting all of those projections.
Thank you.
It's a fluid working document, really for the board's use as we plow through the balance of the fiscal year, and obviously for staff use, so that we are keenly aware of where we stand, at least on a monthly basis.
Yeah, we're gonna have to stay on top of this. I mean, about this time, or maybe even earlier last year, we started meeting, Jim Hadley and I started meeting regularly to make sure that we stayed on top of it. We didn't have the benefit of somebody like Cheryl. So this is really, from that perspective, wonderful. I do have one question for you though, Cheryl. I didn't get to it yet, but you can just tell me, how'd you handle waste disposal?
Well, let me look at what we have
Should we
here.
go take a look together?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe we pretty much utilized what we had budgeted for 2021, based on the numbers that we had back when the budget was prepared in the fall.
Yeah, okay, that's what
Yes.
you did. Yeah, okay.
Yep, I just took everything as what we had planned for in the budget that we'd requested, because that's what we
Okay,
figured we're
major.
gonna need.
Because that was one big chunk that I just thought, that's a $40,000 to make up, and that's what it looks like here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess, just, from an overall perspective, I'm not seeing any brackets on the very bottom number, so.
Oh, that was a good thing. I checked that first.
Me too.
My heart rate slowed down a little bit, but, yeah, I mean,
But I think, I think we have to, obviously, we'll monitor this, very, very closely, as we move forward, and,
Yeah.
hoping that, some of the things that we've, estimated or, come out a little less, and, things like, what the last, 2 months of our fiscal winter is going to be like is difficult. The good news is the first half was pretty good. We didn't, again, being able to utilize staff personnel versus contracted labor saved us some money there. So we've got some areas that are going to provide us the cushion that we need, but we're not going to be in a position to absorb a lot of unanticipated expenses, which the chief has already, Chief Tatro has already, experienced, as well as Chief Drolet, as far as, rolling
Repairs,
stock,
yeah.
repairs and so forth.
Yeah.
So we'll keep the belt tight, and we'll, make sure that we monitor it as closely as possible, so that we're keenly aware that, if we have to put the brakes on, then we'll put the brakes on. But I think right now we'll be, diligent and vigilant in terms of where we're at.
well, if I may speak, I think just making sure we keep the encumbrances right up to snuff, which, was a huge benefit this year since you've been here and stuff, and that really helps quite a bit. And then I think we also need to think about, what I would call the minimum burn rate. In other words, if we absolutely had to, stop spending on everything, and it could only cover just the absolute minimum that we had to keep moving along, if we could have some idea as to what that number is, so that if we do get a big expense, we can sort of mentally subtract that off what we got. And I just really, having worked in startup companies, we always used to keep that burn rate in your head. So if you could give us some sense of that, that would be helpful for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I said, it's going to be fluid, and as Cheryl mentioned, she'll update it after every AP and payroll, so that if there is, a unexpected bump, it'll be keenly
It'll stick
protected.
out.
And we'll make sure that we'll be reviewing these, with the board, the second meeting of the month, through the balance of the fiscal year.
Well, we're glad you're here, Cheryl, because we need your help on this.
And now you can go,
Now I can go.
if that's okay with the board.
Oh, yes,
I'm just looking down through the list. I don't see anything else for her.
Okay.
Great, thanks again.
Great.
Thanks for the work on the policies and procedures, too.
welcome.
Really glad we're making progress.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank
You
you.
too, thank you. Okay, are we ready to move on to new business, I believe? So, the Lakes Region Public Access Agreement. Walter, you want to go over that and explain what we got to do on that?
Yes. Let me just look to that page here.
Just for the benefit of Jim, and maybe some of us that don't have as good of memories as you, go over what Lakes Regions does for us and the basis for the contract and stuff.
So this is our relationship with Lakes Region Public Access Television, which at this point we utilize to broadcast, rebroadcast meetings over channel 25. So what they do is they grab our videos and put them in the proper television format, and then we get a schedule about when they're going to be aired, and then we will post that schedule on the website and so forth. Obviously, it's a partnership, so we contribute. I think the formula is based on our population.
Subscribers.
I think.
Subscribers, cable subscribers, right. And so this year, this contract runs through July 1st of 2021 to June 30 of 2022. And our portion of the commitment is $5,705, which was budgeted for in the operating budget.
So I want to make sure that I did not misspeak, or if I did, apologize. Does this Lakes Region Access also cover like the live stream that we do tonight?
At YouTube?
I don't believe it does. I don't think the live stream is included
Okay.
in this expense.
So when I go to Lakes Region, there is a feed for that type of stuff,
What type of stuff?
like this.
To watch it live?
Yeah, because I thought does this not get broadcast right now
Yes,
Through live stream.
yes,
through live stream?
right, but this is videotaped, okay?
The old meetings coming on.
Right, they take all of
Yeah,
our
I
meetings.
understand they put it on for their cable subscribers,
Right.
but I guess I thought that part of this Lakes Region Access was the providing of this live streaming, which also then, goes out on, like right now, people are watching us. And also when you go to Lakes Region for, like, I was looking at the planning board meetings, they're all on there. That's why I thought that was part of what we get out of this.
They do have an on-demand option. So, and actually, if you look at the agreement in the packet, it actually lists it right out. So
Oh, it does.
it even says
Okay.
non-cable subscribers can tune in anytime, and then it lists the URL. So it does fill that role.
Yeah, because that's,
But I'm not sure that's live.
I doubt it is. I think it's after the fact. So that's why I wouldn't say we can get rid of live stream in terms of the live streaming of the meeting.
No, I guess the question is, what advantage do we gain by having this contract? Is kind of a question I got. We're paying this amount to be in a contract. What kind of return are we getting? From what I read, we can use it for public access. We can have other meetings. They do other things.
Right.
But I was wondering what kind of return we got, because when I had cable, I don't even have it anymore, I never watched it. So, and I'm wondering how much of the 815 people actually watch it, and what advantage do we as the town have for having it and wanting to keep it, I guess is my question. Because I'm kind of new to this and I don't quite understand what that was for.
I think, if I may,
Go ahead, please.
the answer is that we still have a fair number of people who are either technologically phobic or just not capable, that they don't have the service, they don't have fast internet access, or they just don't want to use the computer. And it tends to be, without painting with too broad a brush, some of our older residents, older voters. So I think that's generally who is watching there, and I think that it does fill that niche need.
Right.
I agree with you that I don't know, I would love to know exactly how many hours are being watched on our
Right, is there
access
some way we can get
channels.
that information to see if we're getting that kind of return on investment type of thing?
Great question.
Yeah, and that's why I'm bringing this up, because if it doesn't include some of these other services or the links to some of these services, then that's a little bit different question for me too. But I have to tell you, my recollection is this is all sort of tethered together. And so maybe, Walter, just for my benefit, if you could just double check what the capabilities are in terms of when we're running this live stream, what do they actually provide in terms of computer or internet access in the moment, so to speak, versus I know I can go on their website and find all the archived ones, because like I said, I just did it with the planning board.
And I guess the other question I have is how many people in town actually use the access we have to videotape stuff, upload it, that others can see it? Are we actually utilizing the part of the contract that we agree with, from what I read?
That, we can get the numbers off their site, I believe. I think they show that at some point.
The number of viewers?
Yeah, I mean, that makes
Well, not
sense.
just that, how many people are actually using it? Because it says other organizations
you
can
mean-
use it, and they'll put it up on the Lake Region thing. Do we actually have anyone in town doing that? I mean, like, is the rec department saying, we're showing the video of the Derby?
Yep,
And
or-
that's actually being shown later.
Right, if
Are we
conservation
using
did an event and wanted to get some
Or are we
video.
just putting it up on YouTube? Because that's where I watch everything from. Because I know we're live streaming to YouTube, because I wasn't sure. And when I looked at the heading, because my wife wanted to watch it tonight, and I says, oh, it's on YouTube like we've been watching all the previous ones. So,
So they run the select board, they run the planning board, they run the zoning board, they run the...
School board.
The school board.
Budget.
The budget committee meeting.
Yeah, budget committee was on.
They have selectmen, planning board, zoning board, school board, New Hampshire Executive Committee.
Yep.
But
But
again,
I don't see it live. I went to their website and I'm on our website.
I don't think it is.
Oh,
It's not live.
I'm almost certain it's
When it
not.
says click live stream, it brings you to Laconia.
right.
That's on our website.
let's check that, because my understanding was there's a way to make this live as we are.
Okay, I'll check into it.
Can I just ask another clarifying question? So you said that cost of $5,700 is budgeted. Would that not come out of the Cable Expendable Trust Fund?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. Yep. But it's in the budget.
It's in the
you know,
budget
for
to be replaced through that trust.
replacement
Thank you.
revenue. Yep.
Let's check all that, if you would, please, Walter,
Sure.
because it sounds like there's either confusion on my part and possibly others, but I could have swore that we were some way able to get it out now to folks.
Well, and I think if we are able to get that out, we should probably let people know how it
How
can
to
be done,
get it.
because I've been trying for 10 minutes and I can't figure it out.
Yes.
Point well taken, okay, good enough.
So is this something we have to move to,
Again,
I mean, when do we have to sign this by?
well, it expires on July 1st, so we can table it till the 29th.
meeting.
See, report back and make a decision then.
I mean, do folks think that we need it?
So I just have one more question, I guess, which is, would you be willing to throw it out on the TA listserv, or your secret little methods of communication, and see are there other towns doing away with this at any level? I don't want to be the first small municipality to get rid of the cable shows, because I do think it serves some need, but I mean, it's a decent chunk of money, and I agree with Jim that I don't know how many people are
What are we getting
are
back?
watching.
And if it's just about watching it simply, we could also link the YouTube to the website. So it doesn't have to be, I mean, if I can't find it on the website and I couldn't find it there, it's not that easy to find. So, I mean, I'm pretty.
You mean the live version or the archive version?
No, the live version.
Okay,
So,
well, let's find out.
And the thing is,
It
if
might
it's
not
on
be.
YouTube, it's all archived anyway, so.
Right.
If
Well,
we
it
could
might
send
be that they're taking the YouTube and archiving it. Is that possible?
As
But,
Matt
you know,
mentioned, it's for people that still watch television
Primarily.
and don't utilize the internet.
Okay, well then, let's get the rest of the details.
Right, but would they have that data is what I'm asking. Can we actually find that number? Does Lake Region,
We'd have to ask them.
monitor that somehow?
Yeah, we'd have to ask them.
Yeah, okay.
I don't
For
know
$5
if
grand,
they'd
we
be
could buy
able to
high
see
speed for the people who
what
don't
channels the people
have it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get what information we can. Jim's got questions as well as others, so we'll table it then. Everybody comfortable tabling it?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable taking it away if people just watch the TV about watching. I don't want to give them less information.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
so
I-
I mean, okay, $6,000 is a lot of money, but it isn't, if we have, half or whatever, the people watching it, they need to be informed.
And it's paid for by the users, because it comes out of our franchise fee.
That's a good point too. It's their money to
So they're-
start with.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd actually be more comfortable having the discussion of cutting that tie if and when we actually manage to pass a warrant article to expand the use of the Cable Expendable Trust. Because then we'd have additional methods of communication. I do have some concerns about cutting those folks off, if that's their, especially where we don't have the sun anymore. Those traditional methods of communication are,
And it's coming from their franchise fee, so, I mean.
Okay, so Walter's going to get some more information. We're going to table it for now. I think we brought up some good questions. Let's have him get us the answer so we can make an informed decision. Okay, what's next? PhD student request to do field work. You want to explain that, Walter? I mean, we have the backup, but
Yep.
why don't you go over it briefly?
So,
Please.
a request came in to a member of the Conservation Commission from a PhD student at UNH studying environmental resources, and he's co-leading a project to evaluate methods of monitoring fur bearer species and to study fur bearer habitat relationships in New Hampshire. The project is a research collaboration between New Hampshire Fish and Game Department and UNH. And so what he's looking to do is to request permission to conduct field work on town property and deploy for a small amount of time a camera to trap in the summer and track stations in the fall to gather data on fur bearer occurrences. You've attached a document that details the purpose and the extent of the field work for this project for consideration. And I believe the parcel of property is also indicated. Bear with me here.
Linda's letter.
Yeah.
I think it's the properties off of Mountain Road, if I remember correctly.
The northeast lot number 11.
It's town property.
Well, that narrows it down.
Actually, it's one of the conservation's town forest lots, one of the school lots.
school lot.
Oh, so that's why it's a number.
It's on Lucas Pond Road. I always put a camera out to watch the foxes and the weasels and
Minks and whatever. Okay, does
send me a
anybody,
video. I want to see them when I get done.
anybody have any questions or concerns about doing this?
I'm sure Linda's on top of it, so.
Would there be like a sign posted saying that it's under surveillance for a reason?
I don't know that. I don't know if that was addressed in the letter.
I didn't see anything. I will say that some folks from UNH came out to do some research on some kind of bird on my property, and they were very responsible. I mean, they,
But it's our property, right? Do we need to post that, is under surveillance?
I'm asking, do we
oh,
need
I see what you're saying.
You know, I mean,
They don't,
if he's out there doing research, he knows it's there, we know it's there by GPS coordinate, but if, you know, Jim and his family go for a walk and all of a sudden they get on camera and, you know, they don't want to be on camera, you know, something
the
like that.
selectmen are recording?
You know, anything, like even that Co-Brown records, you know, all the cameras on the premises being recorded, you know, you gotta,
Yeah, I don't know how that works if it's public property.
I
Usually,
guess I'd check Linda, she
If
might
we
know.
put cameras here in the town hall, we have to say it's, you're being under surveillance. It's perfect.
you're only required to if you're recording audio. But obviously, it's
Video
best
does.
to post it if you're doing video as well, just for
I just think,
individuals' information, so, you know, if they're picking their nose or
And
something.
I would think where he's going, probably a lot of people won't be trekking through, you know?
Exactly.
It's
Not
going to
at
be
all.
dense.
He's out
Yeah.
the
Dense
back
area,
40,
right.
but,
And they may actually identify their,
and like Linda
their
said, we don't,
project, you know, with a sign of some sort.
Linda says, you know, we don't want to know the exact location, she gives us GPS coordinates, and nobody knows it's there to go.
I don't want someone
takes-
taking a camera either, I'm just saying, do we have to have it posted, so.
well, why don't we leave that up to Walter to determine and just ask that
Yeah.
they do whatever's required?
Yeah.
As a UNH researcher, I'll promise you that anything we could think of,
They already thought of it.
the IRB at UNH is already worried
There you
about
go.
that. So if his project's been approved through the IRB, like, we're safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why I was mentioning the bird folks and stuff. They covered everything. Okay, so do we need a vote on that, Walter, or just consensus?
I just consensus that the town's going to do it.
We have consensus?
Yep.
I just want to see the pictures afterwards.
Okay, we're going to move on to the task manager. This is your opportunity to look at what Walter's working on an overall basis and discuss changes in priorities, questions in terms of what progress he's making, or, you know,
I am just
updates.
so happy to see that we're gonna be getting some of those properties back
Yes,
on.
yes,
In
that's
revenue, because it's been years we've been asking for this, so thank you so much.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we are.
No, we are, this is more progress than I've seen, so thank you.
You gonna see Walter Johnson real estate signs put up around the neighborhood?
No way.
Okay, so anybody want to ask Walter any questions on anything here?
Sure, I'll start.
Go ahead.
On the town website, it said you had a meeting on the 4/29. Can you fill us in on what happened with that?
Yeah, so I think I may have mentioned, or perhaps you and I were talking the other day about the company that used to host and develop the current website that we have, pretty much gave up that part of that business, Mainstay, who does our IT support, because they just weren't in their wheelhouse for continuing in that end. So one of their employees spun off his own company and is now developing new templates and formats for their current, you know, municipal clients and commercial clients as well. And so when we met, he showed us some preliminary platforms and some templates that he's been developing, and Carol, who's been working on this with me, actually reached out to him last week and said, you know, within the next week or two, he's going to start forwarding us some of the templates for us to take a look at and see what we might be interested in. And then eventually he'll, you know, transform our existing information over. So hopefully, you know, over the next couple of months, we can, you know, look at what the options are and get the new site up and running.
So he'd be doing the migration?
Yes. Yep. Yep. He'll be doing all, so we're getting there.
Okay.
So I got a question relative to that. If you're all set, Jim?
Yeah, that's fine.
So my question is sort of similar to the software question for the rec group. Are we going to be building on something that will really be good for us for the future, or are we putting a Band-Aid on something that maybe we should, you know, think about maybe getting something more sophisticated, different template, you know, that type of thing?
Well, I'm kind of going to have to reserve that response until we see what he's going to have to offer.
Okay.
You know, I've worked with different companies. Civic Plus is a large platform, supporter and host of municipal and government websites. I've worked with them before. They used to be a small company. Now, when they get absorbed by Civic Plus, I'm not sure how their support is. You used to be able to pretty much call and talk to anybody anytime you wanted to, but this company is a small company, so I think we would have, located in Portsmouth or Dover, so it would be somebody that would be close by. But until we see, what he's going to come up with in terms of those platforms, I really can't say one way or the other.
Okay.
If we need to look elsewhere or not.
Well, I bring it up because personally, and I'm not speaking for the board, but personally, I'd like to see us have a website good enough that we can attract the rest of the organization in town back into it, so that rec doesn't feel like they need to have a separate site, and, police and others. I mean, maybe there's going to be somewhere it still makes sense to stay separate, but I'd like to see if we can't get something good enough to entice people back into the fold, so that there's one place you go and branch off from there.
I know Scott wants to just utilize the town website.
It's easier
And not have a
for people
separate
in town to do it,
Well, I guess the answer is we have to wait till we see what's
the product
possible.
is.
Okay. Other questions on any other parts of the template, or template, sorry?
Pretty much talked about all of them, except for, you're still waiting for DOT, district engineer.
Haven't had any feedback yet from him. I'm going to probably have to bring him up and see if he's...
Tell them
looked
that
at the
road
project.
might be paved within like 3 months, kind of, maybe that'll,
Yeah.
like to get the telephone pole out of the middle of the road before we pave it, so.
Right. Oh, absolutely. We may have to get an act of Congress on that, but dealing with the phone company.
Okay, anything else on the chart? Not, then let's move on to the board committee reports. I already said my piece on the planning with the Aroma Joe's coming up. That's tomorrow night. We're going to meet here for deliberation on what we're going to do with Aroma Joe's. Matt, we had a meeting with the school board. Do you want to talk about that a little bit with Keith and stuff?
Sure. We did a joint meeting with several different stakeholders after the election to do a bit of a post-mortem on the day itself, and that involved reps, myself and Hal from Board of Selectmen, school board members, clerk's office, Walter,
Moderator.
and the moderator, and the school staff. The feedback generally was that it was a successful day. We identified a couple of spots where we could certainly firm things up. Keith McGuigan, the moderator, seems really dedicated to making improvements where possible. So, all in all, it was a solid meeting, and I think a worthwhile endeavor. While I'm talking, I'll check in on recreation. Our big thing right now is that we've got the playground build coming up. That will happen next week. We're really excited. There's still a lot of balls in the air in terms of getting everything firmed up, but hopefully we'll be good to go, and by the end of this month we'll have a shiny new playground up at the upper rec fields.
Okay, I encourage folks to sign up to help.
Please do.
I haven't checked lately how we're doing on that.
We could still use some more volunteers, for sure. And if folks don't want to, dig holes and handle hardware, we're looking for food and stuff like that too. So,
Will we get some guidance as to what to bring? Like, do I wear my carpenter's tool belt, or do I bring my mechanic set, or
if you sign up to volunteer, you'll get an email letting you know exactly what you bring.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any? I guess really we haven't had any other committee meetings since then. So, anybody else have anything to bring up?
So I was asked what will be happening with the safety facility strategic committee. There's like 6 other names I know there is.
Yeah.
So I just said that we're on pause for now until we find out, so we can have our fun discussion.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
We talked to Gary Tasker about the pictures.
Yes. Yes, I have to make a
You
date.
gotta
You and I have to make a date with Gary.
Get a hold of him, and he's got some blown up, what size would fit. To kind of decorate this place up, and all the pictures we've gone through, and still continuing on with the 250th party. He's got out the pictures and the coins, and
Yeah.
we're gonna get with Gary. So.
I started looking for a way to splice a picture of my house with one of the old pictures of my house, so I'm working on it. It's going to be cool.
Very cool.
There's a guy down in Deerfield with a book that does that kind of stuff.
All right.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to open it up for citizens forum. Ginger, would you like to speak again?
Chat too long.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're getting up like I do.
And I think I'm still on. A couple of things regarding from the meeting tonight. The recreation software, it was mentioned that the software that you're using currently costs about $600 a year. And I'm curious as to where that is posted, because there's 0 on the line for recreation software.
Well, we let
Which
Cheryl go.
then leaves
Sorry.
me to, it just leads me to wonder where you're going to get 1,800. Because I don't know where it's posted. I've looked in the town report and it's never been posted under recreation
We'll get it.
software.
We'll get it.
Point number 1. Number 2, and you don't have a whole lot in software anyway with the default budget, just in case you wanted to know. Tax collector, town clerk has $1 because of the default. Finance has $200. Executive office has $600. So there's not a whole lot for that.
Yeah.
As far as the Lakes region thing, you sort of touched on it, a few of you. You got to remember that there's a goodly percentage of people in town who don't have computers, which
Yeah,
means the
absolutely.
only way they can find out anything that's going on is through that public access channel. I would really hate to see you cancel that, particularly since the $5,700 comes out of their user fees.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I would like you to be sure to consider that.
Yeah.
And back in the day, when I was a selectman, we ran into a similar situation involving the transfer station and needing
I know
help.
the answer's coming.
Oh, yeah.
I know the answer's coming.
All the budget committee members volunteered for the day.
No, the selectmen, the 3 of us did it, with me primarily being the one who ran the station for 2 months, while the person who was there, which off camera I'll tell you who it was,
You're
because I'm sure
volunteering
you
again? Is
know.
that what you're saying now?
I'm sorry?
You're volunteering yourself again?
No, but that's something that the selectmen are responsible for.
Okay.
And it's something that you guys should be considering. You know, from what I understood, Chris's license would cover temporary volunteers. Guess what, guys? Buck stops with you. If I could do it, if Marion Knox could do it, if Doug Peterson could do it back 21, 22 years ago, so can you guys. And you don't cost anything. If the budget's tight, that's an option I think you should be considering. That's it. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you for speaking up. Doesn't mean we don't appreciate it. Okay, so, again, thank you, and that's it for the public session. So at this point, I'm looking for a motion to go into non-public, primarily 91A, for hiring.
B and C.
BNC, okay.
So moved.
Second.
And a second? Okay, and I believe we do these by roll call. So Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Hal is yes.
Thank you, Ginger.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
wow, good thinking. Thank you.
Saving the money.
Sometimes we try to use that